Hey, this is Splash of Gas with Dave Weichert, a NASCAR podcast. What an awesome third edition of the street race in downtown Chicago. No rain this time for both Xfinity and Cup. The drivers would be roaring to go left and right throughout the July 4th weekend. Storyline starting with Xfinity, expecting a battle between full-time Xfinity road course ace youngster Connor Zilisch and Shane van Gisbergen as he hops back in the Xfinity car for Chicago. Cup Series, just like last year, all the spotlight is on, again, SVG. Will Brown from the same Australian Supercar series that Van Gisbergen developed in? Could he be a factor? Or would it be regulars of Ty Gibbs or Kyle Larson stealing the trophy? Interview with Xfinity driver Sheldon Creed, Fast Davey's bets, yellow flag, green flag, quote of the week, predictions for Sonoma, and so much more on this episode of Splash of Gas. As always, we're sponsored by Magical Travel with Dave, aka Disney Dave Weichert, my father. He will be able to help you with all your Disney and Universal vacation needs. He can be reached at DisneyDaveW@Verizon.net. Please make sure you follow all the Splash of Gas social medias for midweek and on-track updates. Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube are all Splash of Gas with Dave Weichert. Now for the Xfinity recap. Xfinity Series would get the party started in downtown Chicago Saturday afternoon. There would be some mayhem in practice and qualifying. Christian Eckes, Ryan Sieg, Taylor Gray, and Connor Zilisch would all not have a qualifying time and have to start from the rear. SVG, the only full-time Cup driver in this one, would be on the pole, followed by Austin Hill. When the green flag dropped, Van Gisbergen would get the jump and take control of the lead. Sheldon Creed would get past Austin Hill on the first corner and settle into second. Creed would be battling Van Gisbergen hard, getting to his bumper at one point. First yellow for incident would fly on lap 5 when Jack Perkins would spin hard into the wall. SVG would complain to his crew that his engine was sputtering. Shane and Creed on the following restart. Again, Van Gisbergen would get the jump and lead. As expected, and as seen typically on road courses, drivers of Taylor Gray, Jesse Love, Preston Pardus, Brandon Jones, plus a few others would pit towards the end of stage 1, flipping the stage. Second yellow of the race would fly with 2 laps to go in the first stage, as Brad Perez goes into the tire barrier on turn 4, ending the stage under yellow. SVG would win stage 1, followed by Sheldon Creed and Austin Hill. On a long run strategy, Van Gisbergen elects to stay out and start stage 2 up front. Jeb Burton would be next to Shane on the restart. Again, the 9 of SVG will get the jump. Jesse Love will get past Burton for the second spot. Sheldon Creed would eventually get past Burton for the third place spot. Yellow would fly with 6 laps to go in stage 2 for a tire carcass. Van Gisbergen, having not pitted yet, would pit under this yellow, giving up all of his track position. Jesse Love and Creed on the following restart with 2 to go in the second stage. Love would get the initial jump, but Sheldon Creed would get past him for the front spot. A lap later, Creed would still be up front and win stage 2, followed by Love and Austin Hill. What will go down in the third and final stage? 16 laps to go, Creed and Love restart. Sheldon Creed gets the jump and leads. But they wouldn't even make it a lap as the 5th caution of the race would fly as Thomas Annunziata gets into a tire barrier and loses his bumper. 13 to go, Creed and Austin Hill on the front row with Connor Zilisch and Jesse Love hungry to strike behind them. Creed gets the early jump. Zilisch will be hot on his tails. Turns later, Zilisch would get past and take the lead away from Sheldon Creed. Connor would start to rack up a gap to second place. 9 laps to go, SVG would work his way through the field and pass Creed for second. Could Shane catch Connor Zilisch? Not what Zilisch wanted to see, but the yellow flag would fly as the 35 of Castro gets stuck in a tire barrier. The battle that we all expected would come down to the last few laps between Connor Zilisch and Shane van Gisbergen. They restart with 2 laps to go. Time to settle it in Chicago. The two drivers lean on each other going into turn 2, with Zilisch tapping the wall slightly. SVG to the lead as Zilisch follows. Could he catch Shane? The rest of the race would stay green, and Van Gisbergen would hit all of his marks, and Connor would just run out of time. But what a finish. Congratulations to Shane. No reason for Zilisch to hold his head down. He raced Van Gisbergen clean and hard. Very exciting. Now for trivia time. This episode's question is, who won the first Cup Series race that they went to the Sonoma Road Course in 1989? Answer coming at the end. Now for the Cup Series recap. Cup Series would be roaring to go in the streets of Chicago Sunday afternoon. As expected, SVG would be on the pole, being the fastest in qualifying, followed by Michael McDowell taking the field to green. Michael McDowell would get the jump and lead early. The first yellow for incident would fly on lap 3 when Carson Hocevar would hit the wall, spinning, collecting Austin Dillon, Todd Gilliland, Brad Keselowski, Daniel Suarez, and 2 others. The red flag would have to come out briefly for the cleanup. McDowell and SVG on the following restart. Again, McDowell on the jump, Van Gisbergen in second, with Kyle Busch in third. Michael would be controlling up front as the laps of stage 1 count down. Many pit towards the end of the first stage, including Van Gisbergen, foregoing the second spot. Michael McDowell would stay out and win stage 1, followed by Kyle Busch and Tyler Reddick. Staying out, McDowell and Kyle Busch restart up front for the second stage. McDowell will get the jump and lead once again. Busch and Tyler Reddick follow. Reddick would eventually get passed by Busch for second. SVG would follow and work his way into third. First yellow of stage 2 would fly 11 laps in as Josh Berry goes into the wall after contact from Eric Jones. McDowell would pit under this yellow. SVG and AJ Allmendinger on the front row for the following restart. Van Gisbergen leads with Allmendinger and Ty Gibbs behind. Michael McDowell would head to the pits after complaining about throttle issues. 5 laps to go in the second stage. SVG would have almost a 2.5 second lead on AJ. Kyle Larson starts the drivers that elect to pit and flip the stage. Leader of SVG comes to pit with 3 laps to go in the stage. Logano and Cendric follow. A lap later, Allmendinger would pit, giving the lead to Ryan Blaney. Blaney would go on to win the second stage, followed by Chase Briscoe and Tyler Reddick. Briscoe and Reddick restart up front for the third and final stage. Briscoe leads, followed by Tyler Reddick and Bubba Wallace. Laps later, Denny Hamlin and Van Gisbergen get past Bubba for third and fourth. Shane will get past Denny for third. 20 laps to go. Can Van Gisbergen catch Reddick and Briscoe? A lap later, he would get past Tyler Reddick and have Briscoe in his sights. 16 to go. Shane would get past Briscoe and return to the lead. Moments later, the yellow would fly. Crew chiefs tell their drivers that there could be lightning in the area. Will the weather affect the race? SVG and Briscoe on the restart with 13 laps to go. Shane gets the lead while Ty Gibbs slips past Briscoe for the second spot. Allmendinger gets up to the third position. 6th caution of the day comes out with 12 laps to go as Austin Cendric stops and can't get the car going. They restart with 9 laps to go. Van Gisbergen and Ty Gibbs on the front row. Shane gets the jump as AJ Allmendinger puts pressure on Gibbs in second. 7 to go, Bubba Wallace and Alex Bowman make contact several times as they battle for 6th. A lap later, after getting hit by Bubba several times, Bowman would get into Wallace, sending him spinning. Bubba gets the car going, and the race would stay green. 5 laps to go, SVG would still be up front by over a second, Gibbs in the second position. Denny Hamlin would work his way into third. With 2 laps to go, Cody Ware in the 51 would lose his brakes and hit the tire barrier viciously hard. Glad he is okay. Moments later, Van Gisbergen would cross the start-finish line for the white flag, and they would wave the yellow. SVG would be ruled the winner, and again win in Chicago, sweeping the weekend, winning the poles and races for both Xfinity and Cup. What a weekend! Quick look back at the predictions we made. Xfinity went with Zilisch. He comes home second after battling SVG for the lead in that one. Cup Series went with Shane. He grabs his second Cup win of the season. Now for yellow flag, green flag. Xfinity yellow. I know it was his first Xfinity race, but with the success that SVG has had going to this circuit from the Australian Supercar Series, expected more from Jack Perkins, who ran into issues early and finishes 32nd. Xfinity green. I know it wasn't the win that he wanted, but green flag to Connor Zilisch. I think the lessons he learned from Shane's late pass on him will pay off for Connor in years to come, and probably sooner than later at the Cup level. Cup Series yellow flag. After winning in COTA and finishing second in Mexico, was expecting more from Christopher Bell, who goes on to finish 24th. Cup, green flag. I know his day did not end the way he wanted to at all, but green flag to Michael McDowell. He controls the front spot, leading the most laps of the race before his throttle issues. Now for our interview with Sheldon Creed. Enjoy. Next guest we bring on the Splash of Gas with Dave Weichert is driver of the Deuce Deuce 00 for the Haas Factory team in the NASCAR Xfinity Series is Sheldon Creed. Welcome to the show, Sheldon.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Before we get into the on-track action, this isn't your first rodeo in the Xfinity Series, but first season working with Haas Factory team. How has it been working with them and crew chief Jonathan Toney?
Yeah, overall it's been great so far. I think we've been together for, 7-8 months now. Since December of last year, into November, we got to start working together. So, yeah, it's been a fun journey. We've had our struggles with just getting caught up in wrecks and just other people's messes that we always seem to be in the middle of, unfortunately, this year. So, yeah, trying to put that behind us and get some momentum rolling. Bring a little more speed to the racetrack. I feel like we've struggled with a couple little things, but I think we've been improving lately. And, I think Chicago kind of proves that we can run up front, all day. So, overall, it's been good.
Awesome. I appreciate you touching on that. Kind of led into my next question. Going into Chicago, Pocono was a rough day early for you. Atlanta, you win the pole, an impressive feat after how dominant Austin Hill and RCR have been there. You lead 37 laps, but unfortunately get caught up in the mayhem there. As a driver, how do you reset and prepare for the next race after a couple tough races? Seems difficult to do.
It can be. I mean, I just try to honestly just forget about it. Spend Sunday at home with the family and start looking forward to the next week and just things that I think that I can do better or what I need to do to be better in the race car and things I think that we can do at the shop better, preparing the race car to be faster off the truck. So always trying to look forward after the bad weeks and everyone's getting better every week. So it's easy to get left behind if you sit there and ponder on bad weekends.
Gotcha. Got to keep moving on. Moving along to Chicago, a place where Haas has been fast at the Xfinity level, with Cole Custer winning the inaugural race there in 23. You were 7th in practice, running a 92-second lap. You qualified 4th, running a sub-91 lap around the street circuit. What did you learn from the practice that helped you grab the fast lap in qualifying? And how is that piece, that store factory prepared, feel going to green?
Yeah, overall, I felt pretty all day. I mean, honestly, we just kind of took the car that they brought last year for Cole and took some of Cole's notes and just kind of brought back what they would bring back with Cole to try to. And I thought we were pretty close overall. But yeah, you just try to learn as much as you can in practice. The track's a little different every year with like the way that walls and everything are placed. So you're trying to kind of figure that out early on in practice. And it's really slick. Like you'll probably hear a lot of people say that about Chicago, like the first probably half of practice, just because we're on like, real streets with car rubber and oil and everything. Just debris kind of from your regular car streets and everything. It's extremely slick. So yeah, the first few laps, you're just trying to kind of tiptoe around and get a feel for the grip level. And then as you run through practice, I think the grip level kind of like raises and you feel a little more comfortable everywhere. And then even more so in qualifying and in the race. But yeah, I don't know. I just try to learn as much as I can in practice and try different things. And then, with SVG and Zilisch being so good at road courses, you just have to like up your game a little. And instead of trying to get, half a second qualifying, we're finding, over a second now. So yeah, it's really difficult.
Gotcha. Appreciate you touching on the conditions of the track. Once the race got going, you jumped to the second spot and start battling with SVG for the lead. And on the early restart, you finished second in stage 1. After pitting, you work your way up after a late stage restart. You make a sweet move on turn 3 and 4 on Jesse Love, securing the stage 2 win. Your first stage win since last year in Darlington. How were you and the car feeling going into the final stage?
Yeah, I felt really good. I wasn't really sure where the 9 and the 88 were. I knew that they both had really good speed, and I felt like I could have, outran everyone else, or at least I think if they didn't make it to the front, they would have been me too. We had very similar speed, but we would kind of get away from everyone else. So yeah, I felt confident that we would be able to like last and run up front. Obviously I think the junior cars are really good right now, and then you put those two in it that have grown up road course racing and raced road courses, a lot of their careers. Zilisch still being really young, but SVG via supercar background, they're just incredibly good at it, and it was hard to hold them off.
Gotcha. What do you think you needed a little bit more to get another spot or two on both those guys?
Car-wise, I can always stop better. I think we've been working on, brake stuff and then just rear grip. But, for me, I just need more laps and experience around road courses. And it's hard to get those without, going and racing other series and whatnot. So, yeah, just try to watch video and maybe get laps in the cart or whatever. But, just need to be a little better behind the wheel and need to learn a little faster to be with their pace. Gotcha.
Appreciate the honesty. On road courses this year, you finished 12th in COTA and 11th in Mexico City, and just as discussed, the third place on the Chicago Street course. Saturday, Xfinity will be racing in Sonoma. You finished second there last year. How do you feel going into Sonoma?
Overall, good. Even our finish in COTA and Mexico, COTA I sped on the last stop, so I had to start at the back, and then Mexico, 88 and all that caused that crash on that restart. I ended up getting a bunch of damage from it and had to go to the back to fix it. So I felt like both of those were top 5 days as well. Just having to come from the back with, 15, 20 laps to go is challenging. But yeah, overall, I feel like our road course program is decent. It's maybe not the best or as good as I think we can be, but I think we're pretty good. So yeah, I feel, really good going into another one this weekend and just going to try and be a little better.
Gotcha. Currently sitting 10th in the standings and 30 points above the cut line with 8 races left in the regular season before the Xfinity playoffs start in Bristol. What's your mindset with the playoffs not too far down the road, and how are you going to put the Haas factory machine into the playoffs?
Yeah, first off, just trying to be consistent and get some consistency going for our team. I feel like we have good weeks and bad weeks, so yeah, I would love to turn more of our okay weeks into good weeks and our bad weeks into okay days, right? To stack more points, but would love to, grab a win before the playoffs start or multiple to get some more points going and then not having to worry about your point situation. But yeah, I feel like we have good tracks coming for myself and our team and just need to, put finishes together. All
right, cool. Thanks so much for touching all that. That's all the questions I have for you, and really do appreciate your time, Sheldon, and best of luck this coming weekend in Sonoma, and really we'll be watching you and rooting you on for the upcoming playoffs, and we'll hopefully talk to you before the end of the season. Thank you for your time again, man. Have a good one.
Yep, thank you.
Yep, see ya. Great talk with Sheldon Creed there. Awesome insight he brought to the conversation. Now for this episode's edition of Discussions with Dave. Our first topic, can SVG be stopped? We just saw Shane win Xfinity and Cup Series in Chicago. He won the pole in both events and won the race. Xfinity, he was real dominant. The only one that maybe could have competed with him, and we saw that at the end on that final restart, was Connor Zilisch. At the Cup Series, Van Gisbergen, he did win the race, was on the pole. But he did not lead the most laps of the race. That was by Michael McDowell, who unfortunately had to come to the garage with issues with his throttle cable. Post-race, Shane was asked about how good McDowell was. Shane said, "I don't think he really was that good." That statement by Van Gisbergen was kind of a head-scratcher. Was he being honest and was saving his stuff early and thought McDowell could have been passed? Or does Shane think that the other drivers were starting to catch on to his moves and maybe McDowell was a lot closer to winning than some think? Who knows? In all honesty, I think it's the latter half of that. I think some of these drivers, it's taken a couple races and obviously a couple years to pick up on what Shane does in some of these corners and these high braking corners, how he's able to make these passes that for an oval guy, a short track guy, that can be really difficult to learn. And it's taking some time for these drivers to pick up. But who knows? Shane can just be on another planet and not want to give all of his tricks away this early in the season. He has 2 wins right now and does have a chance to make a long run, deep run into the playoffs. I think the longest he could go is the round of 8. We'll see what happens, though, as the year progresses. And the next race is really going to be all telling with Sonoma. Can Shane get it done on another road course and not just that Chicago street course that he's done so well on? Next topic on Discussions with Dave, more talk about the Chicago street course. Will it be on the schedule next year? With the rain the 2 previous years in Chicago, the racing on the circuit there was exciting on times, but the combo of the street course and rain caused for untimely and frequent crashes that, in my opinion, took away from the actual racing product. Going into the race this year, I was honestly least looking forward to this weekend compared to others and every other weekend. I was proved wrong this year. With the dry weather, the extra speed that it brought to the tight corners of the streets gave the ability for the drivers to truly push it to the max on the course. The slide jobs and dive bomb passes we saw throughout the weekend made for great racing. We mentioned this next topic on our recap of the Cup Series at the end while battling for the 6th position. Alex Bowman and Bubba Wallace would spice things up at the end of the race. This might be the first time that the bracket tournament affected a race and a pass. Bowman and Wallace were paired up against each other for Chicago, and at the end, we saw the two make contact several times, and then we heard on the radio of Alex Bowman that his spotter was really trying to fire him up to make that pass on Bubba Wallace. In the end, there's contact, and Bubba gets spun, and Bowman goes on to win the bracket matchup. The move that Bowman did on Bubba Wallace was the same way that Bubba was racing him at the end. Hard-nosed and just bumpers smashing, and that's the price that Wallace paid, in my opinion. Was listening to the NASCAR channel on Sirius XM post-race. There were some Wallace fans that called in and were really fired up, thinking that Alex Bowman should be suspended. They must have been watching a different race than we all were. Bubba tried to play the game, and in the end, he lost. I get it. He was fired up at Bowman post-race. There's a lot of money with this bracket tournament, and he is a Michael Jordan driver. Chicago put 2 and 2 together. He wants and should perform at this race. So there's added pressure to Bubba. But I think that Alex Bowman was in the right in this one. And in the end, he came out on top. Next topic, standing effects of Shane van Gisbergen winning twice. Prior to winning in Mexico City, SVG was back of the pack in the standings. So much, he wasn't even among the 32 drivers in the bracket challenge. Right now, with 2 wins, he sits 5th in the standings. Coming into the season, he was one of the drivers in my book, and especially after what he did in Xfinity last year, to grab a win. Now he has the opportunity to possibly have 3 or 4 with road courses of Sonoma next weekend, and then Watkins Glen in August. What Shane is doing right now should no way be discounted because he's doing it on all road and street courses. What he's doing is winning races in the most competitive road course racing we've seen in NASCAR. In road courses of the past 15, 20 years, there was a handful of road course ringers, few regulars to excel, but the competition and list of different drivers that have won a road course in the last 5 years is much longer. With the next-gen car, teams are on more of an even playing field, and that is seen on these road courses. Shane's performances bring up the level of competition, creating a better racing product. Last topic on discussions with Dave this week, Connor Zilisch taking Daniel Suarez's seat next year. Shane van Gisbergen cements his seat with Trackhouse as well. We were talking about the news that it was announced Daniel Suarez would not be returning to Trackhouse Racing next year, and all eyes look towards that Connor Zilisch would be his replacement. We've seen him multiple times in a 4th Trackhouse Cup Series car. The writing is all on the wall for Zilisch to be in Suarez's seat for next year. Some rumors that I thought were crazy was that Shane van Gisbergen could possibly be out of a Trackhouse seat. I understand he's still getting caught up to speed on the oval racing. He is just so world class on these road courses. If Trackhouse were to drop him, someone would pick him up in a millisecond. So with his second win and with the possibility for him to get 3-4 wins this year, Trackhouse is going to have to keep Van Gisbergen in their stables. That wraps up this episode's edition of Discussions with Dave. Moving right along to our bracket look back and predictions for round 3. Picked Ty Dillon to beat Brad Keselowski. He makes it happen. Alex Bowman went with him As we saw, he has to bump and bang with Bubba Wallace, but he gets it done, Bowman. John Hunter Nemechek pulls the upset. I chose Chase Elliott, but John Hunter makes it happen. Eric Jones, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., I was wrong again. Eric Jones wins that matchup. Gragson and Ryan Preece. Chose Preece, he gets the job done. Tyler Reddick, he makes it happen with Carson Hocevar. Got that one. AJ Allmendinger, Ty Gibbs. I was wrong with this one. Ty Gibbs gets it done. Chris Buescher, Zane Smith. Another one where I was incorrect. Zane Smith pulls the upset and will face Ty Gibbs in the next round. Now we start with our predictions. I think Ty Gibbs, he might have the best opportunity to win the in-season challenge right now. I think he makes it happen and beats Zane Smith. Ryan Preece, Tyler Reddick, both solid road course drivers. I think Tyler Reddick gets it done. Ty Dillon, Alex Bowman. I want to keep riding the momentum for Ty, and I will, but I think this is the hardest matchup that Ty Dillon will have to overcome, but give me Ty Dillon in the 10 Kaulig car. Now, we have teammates matching up. Really interesting matchup. You have the Legacy Motorsport Toyotas of John Hunter Nemechek and Eric Jones facing off against each other. I'm really interested to see how they race each other, or if they get close to each other, but we'll see what happens. They should, with how they've been qualifying and finishing this year. My brain says go with Jones, and I'm going with my gut that said John Hunter Nemechek. There's been several curveballs in this tournament. I think John Hunter gets it done. A new segment this week that we're rolling out with the bracket challenge going on. There has been some good old-fashioned trash talking. Just like we saw in the first round in Atlanta, there was more upsets in Chicago. The hot hand of Ty Dillon advanced with finishing ahead of Brad Keselowski into the Elite 8 round. Lead up for this quote: years ago, Brad participated in a basketball layup and shooting contest at an NBA game, and let's just say he struggled. Ty was interviewed after the race, and he said this: I knew in a basketball city going up against Brad in a game of knockout, I was going to have a good chance. I got a good chuckle out of that one, just like his comment when he beat Denny Hamlin. Ty's having a lot of fun with this. We had him on the show last week. He's killing it. He's getting more support. I think it's great. Like I said at the beginning of this tournament, I had no clue what was going to happen and if I was going to like it. But boy, I'm really loving this. Now for NASCAR history time. Sonoma, June 9th, 1991. We're heading back to the road course of Sonoma for a wild finish. Mark Martin and road racing ace Tommy Kendall were locked in a fierce battle for the lead when disaster struck. Kendall blew a tire, collecting Mark Martin, taking both contenders out of the race. That opened the door for Davey Allison and Ricky Rudd to take over the fight out in front. Rudd crossed the line in first, but that wasn't the end of the story. On the second to last lap, Rudd bumped Allison in turn 11, spinning him out and taking the lead. Allison regrouped and followed Ricky Rudd to the checkered flag, finishing 4.5 seconds behind him. But nearly 24 hours later, NASCAR handed Rudd a black flag and a 5-second penalty for rough driving, handing the win to Davey Allison in what is the most controversial finishes in Sonoma history. Now, we move to 1995 in California, where again two legends, Mark Martin and Dale Earnhardt, were locked in a late race showdown. With just 3 laps to go, Earnhardt suspected there something wasn't right. He smelled oil on the track and made a mental note and steered clear of that spot next time. Sure enough, Mark Martin hit that same exact patch, lost control, just enough for the Intimidator to pounce. Earnhardt slipped by, made the pass, and pulled away for the win. In classic Dale fashion, sharp instincts, perfect timing, and another W in his storied Hall of Fame career. June 26, 2016, in his final full-time season, Tony Stewart gave fans One last dose of vintage smoke. At Sonoma, Stewart was chasing his 49th and ultimately final Cup Series win. On the last lap, Denny Hamlin made a move and took the lead. But Tony wasn't done. Channeling all his grit and road course skill, Stewart reeled Hamlin back in and in classic Stewart fashion gave the 11 a little nudge in the final turn. Hamlin went wide and Stewart drove back underneath to take the checkered flag. It was his 49th win, a fitting, hard-nosed farewell victory to one of NASCAR's fiercest competitors. Now, for the drivers to look out for, Sonoma, Xfinity. Gotta start with the full-time Xfinity guys that finished second and third this past weekend on the street course. Connor Zilisch and Sheldon Creed. We know what Zilisch can do each and every road course. As mentioned, Creed came second in Sonoma last year. Can either of these two capitalize in the California hills? Well, wouldn't it be Shane van Gisbergen again hopping into Junior Motorsports number 9 in Sonoma? He won this race last year in Xfinity. Will he sweep again Xfinity and Cup like last weekend? Or will he be stopped? Another Cup driver jumping back down in Xfinity for Sonoma is Riley Herbst, driving the 19 for Joe Gibbs Racing. Austin Hill has been bringing it on the road courses. He finished 4th in Chicago. Can he keep it rolling? Taylor Gray had tough luck last weekend, but he's always been fast on the road courses, showing that in Mexico, finishing second. That should boost his confidence. Austin Green in the Jordan Anderson Racing 32 is another young driver that's quick on these left and rights of the road courses. He's got an ARCA win this year and was just 9th last weekend. Drivers to look out for Sonoma, Cup Series. When I think of recent Sonoma winners, first driver comes to mind with his win last year and back in 21 is Kyle Larson. He's been a little cool recently. Can he heat things back up in his home state? Martin Truex Jr. had success in Pocono as well as Sonoma, winning in 23, 19, 18, and 13. The driver that filled Marty's seat after he retired was Chase Briscoe. Chase just won in Pocono. We've seen Briscoe win on road courses at the Xfinity level. Can he get it done like Marty T? Ty Gibbs has been simmering, ready to boil over for his first win. Can it be in California? Michael McDowell led the most laps in Chicago and was second in Sonoma last year. Can he park the 71 in Victory Lane? Can't come to wine country and forget to mention AJ Allmendinger. We know what he can bring to the road courses. Other past winners of Kyle Busch, Daniel Suarez will be locked in and ready to go. Last but not least, everyone is still talking about him, Shane van Gisbergen. What can he bring this upcoming weekend? Now for Fast Davey's bets for Sonoma. Xfinity, gotta keep it in the show. Sheldon Creed was second here last year, just third in Chicago. He's plus 275 for a top 3. Cup Series, Michael McDowell to win is plus 1100. He's also plus 275 for a top 3. We'll love to see what he could have done last weekend if his throttle cable didn't break. That's Fast Davey's bets for this episode. Now for trivia answer time. This week's question is, who won the first time the Cup Series went to the Sonoma Road Course in 1989? The answer is Ricky Rudd. Now for our predictions for Sonoma. Xfinity, the only one that can realistically stop SVG is Connor Zilisch, but I think it's going to be Shane in Sonoma Saturday, racking up another Xfinity win. Cup Series, Shane's the favorite. There's no way around that. My pick is a longer shot, but the dots are connecting very well for Chase Briscoe and the 19 team. I think things are finally clicking with him and crew chief James Smalls. A click that we didn't really see with Truex and James Smalls. I think Shane will get caught in something, maybe on pit road, or maybe a wreck, and Briscoe can get up front and grab the win. As always, we're sponsored by Magical Travel with Dave, aka Disney Dave Weichert, my father. He will be able to help you with all your Disney and Universal vacation needs. He can be reached at DisneyDaveW@Verizon.net. Please make sure you follow all the Splash of Gas social medias for midweek updates. Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube are all Splash of Gas with Dave Weichert. I truly hope everyone has enjoyed this episode and gets a chance to watch the races from Sonoma this weekend. Till next time, everybody, Splash of Gas out!